God is a maximally great being. Maximally great
Says
being.
who?
What happened?
Can you substantiate that premise?
That God is defined as a maximally great being.
Yeah.
A maximally great being is just what I call God.
Okay. So that doesn't. So by logically prove God exists, you mean you can come up with an argument that where the things that you define come out of the premises and it's just a deductive argument?
Yes, it's a deductive argument. Yes.
Okay, so if I said, if God exists, then the God-defeating penguin exists, therefore God doesn't exist, that's a deductive argument.
That doesn't follow.
Neither do your statements.
So how does my statement not follow?
Because you're just claiming, wait, why does mine not follow? If God exists, then the God-defeating penguin necessarily must exist. So if God exists, then the God-defeating penguin immediately makes God not exist. There's no contradiction in any of that.
So yeah, your first premise doesn't your second premise doesn't follow with the rest of the premises, right? Because
Yeah, it does. Because if God exists, then the God-defeating penguin makes God begin to not exist immediately.
Hold on, let me finish, right? Because again, if God is a necessary being that exists, right, and then you bring up another being to defeat the necessary being, is just a blatant contradiction, right? Because a necessary
It's not a contradiction. There can be two necessary beings.
Let me finish. I know, but you're saying one necessary.
Well, if you know, then okay, nothing else to talk about.
You said that your necessary being defeated another necessary being, right? How can these two how can a necessary being defeat another necessary being?
That's how I choose to define them.
Hold on. If both of their existence must be true.
Yeah, that's how I choose to define them.
You see, okay, the way you define it is a contradiction. Everything,
No.
just that whole entire argument is just like blatant contradiction argument, right? Like,
No,
okay,
I choose to define it this way.
A necessary being defeating another necessary being, right? But
Yeah.
both necessary beings must be true, right? Both necessary beings must exist. You don't know what you're talking about.
No, because mine makes yours not exist.
How does it make mine not exist, right? If they're both
Because it's the God-defeating penguin.
Well, but
That's
they're
its
both-
nature.
hold on, but both-
It
but
makes yours not
both-
exist.
Hold on, but both must exist by them simply being necessary beings. You're talking nonsense.
No.
What you're saying?
No, because the moment yours begins to exist, mine makes it not exist. It's this all happens. You seem to be confused. You seem to not understand basic philosophy. All of this happens outside of time as we understand it. It's without time. So this whole thing of they exist at the same time, that's actually completely irrelevant. These are eternal beings, and so the moment yours begins to exist, the necessary being makes it not exist immediately, and it's outside of time. So it doesn't count. It doesn't work that way.
Hold on, how do you know that God began to exist?
I don't know it. It's just that if God began to exist, then it would immediately stop existing.
If you don't know that God began to exist, how can you say that? How can you say that God began to exist? You don't know what you're talking about. Like, bro, what?
Hey, what is your religion? Are you agnostic?
What? Are there two jabronis talking to me all of a sudden?
This is my homeboy.
Oh,
Are you agnostic
He's just asking a question.
or atheist? Because me personally, I'm agnostic.
I'm an agnostic atheist.
Well, yeah, so you lean more towards the atheist side. But me, I lean more towards the hoping that there is a God because, to be honest, despite what my friend says, you really can't prove anything. You're not going to be able to prove anything at all. But it's more
Like what? No, I literally proved that God can't exist because the God-defeating penguin makes it begin to not exist the moment it tries to exist.
We have no possible understanding if there is or isn't a God.
Yeah, but this valid deductive argument proves that it can't exist. Or do valid deductive arguments prove nothing other than the argument?
It proves nothing other than the argument. What is proof?
Exactly. There you go. So go ahead and tell me whatever you wanted to tell me about your God. And then, but since we all understand that that doesn't prove literally anything at all, then I'm not really sure why we're going with this, but go ahead.
Define proof.
No, Tell me,
See,
give me
look,
the argument that your God
come
exists.
on, bro. Like, you want me to tell you how God exists?
See, this is the shifting of the burden of proof
This
that
is
always
not shifting the
comes
burden
with
of
these
proof.
people. You won't describe anything. Instead, you'll deflect and say, yeah, but you don't know blank, you don't know blank, you don't know blank, you don't know blank. An argument from ignorance is when you pretend, when you engage in an argument from ignorance with your interlocutor, the way it works is you pretend that if you can figure out something they don't know, then that means that you are correct about something. No.
No. If you don't know,
No,
something,
not no. Yes, that is actually how that works. So go ahead and tell us about your proof that God exists. If you want to waste your time, but keep in mind that you did tell us that this doesn't actually prove anything except the argument.
Okay, so what is it? So you have to define proof, right? Because you're saying the only thing that I'm proving.
This isn't according to me. This is according to you. It's your argument.
But hold on. Did I make the proposition right? That all I'm proving is the argument.
I don't know what makes you think this is going to go any other way other than you doing what you're told, little jabroni. So go ahead and give us the argument for your God existing.
Okay, I got you. Well,
Thanks.
I thought you was no mind. So I'm gonna say this one more time, right? God is a maximally great being. If there exists a possible world where this maximally great being exists, then this maximally great being must exist in all possible worlds. Our world is a possible world. Therefore, God must exist in our possible world.
Congratulations, you proved your argument. Now, can you give me any evidence that your God exists?
I just gave you the evidence.
No, see, earlier you said the argument does nothing other than prove that the argument, it does nothing but prove the argument. So, can you give me any evidence that your God exists?
I never said that, right? I said the argument is what proves God exists.
No, you said the argument proves nothing other than the argument. The one time you've been honest so far is when you said that. So, for example, we could do it this way. Do maximally great beings exist?
No, that was somebody else who asked you questions about like what you're talking
No.
about. I totally believe.
Do maximally great beings exist?
Is it possible?
Do they exist?
Yes, because they're possible.
Okay. Can the God-defeating penguin exist?
No,
Why not?
because the God defeating penguin have to be something that is necessary. You haven't gave me a reason why it's necessary.
I choose to define it that way, the same way you choose to define that your God is necessary.
You didn't define it. You just simply said maximally great. All you did was say a necessary penguin.
Yeah, I choose to define it to be that way. Just like you choose to define your God to be the maximally greatest being.
I didn't choose to
See how this works? See how anybody can just arbitrarily slap labels on things?
Right. So no, that's not how that works, right? Because
It's literally how that works. It's literally what you did, but for some reason you don't let other people do it. I don't understand why, but that's what's going on here.
Can I talk?
Yeah?
Okay, great. So, yes, you're a maximally great being. You're maximally, whatever you want to call it, maximally great penguin, right?
It's not maximally great. It's just a necessary being.
Okay, then, so it's not necessary.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what makes it necessary?
It's defined to be that way.
Okay, so what makes it necessary?
It's defined to be that way.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Do
my
you
gosh.
want to know why God is necessary?
Because you choose to define it that way?
No, that's not why.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Then why is it?
God is necessary, right? Because what it means to be maximally great means to have the utmost excellent in properties.
Who said that?
Is that not what maximally great means? Are you defining
So you're just defining it to be that way? Okay.
I'm not defining it.
Yes, you are. Well, this isn't your definition. You got it from somebody else, Aquinas, or so. I don't know where you got this from. But yeah, you just define it to be this way.
I'm not defining it to be this way.
Correct. You're not the originator of this, but that is how it came about.
Something maximally great, right, is something that possesses the utmost properties.
Says who?
All I'm saying, what do you mean says who?
Do we know that to be the case, or are you defining it to be that way?
Well, are you saying we don't know what definitions are? Are you saying we don't know what words mean?
I didn't say that. I'm asking you where this came from.
Do we know what words mean?
You keep distracting me from what I... Well, I asked you a question first, and again, you just deflect. So, do we know this to be the case, or is it just defined to be that way?
Do we know what? What
that
maximally
your
great
God
means?
is this maximally great, or well, not even that your God is the maximally great being, but do we know that a necessary being has the properties you say it does, or is it just defined to be that way?
Well, repeat that. My bad. Repeat that.
Do we know that a maximally great or that a necessary being has the properties you say, or is that just how it's defined to be?
We know this
And how do we know that?
because what is maximally great is possible.
Because it's defined to be that way. There you go. So you start going into definitions. There you go. So I will arbitrarily define something that makes your God not exist exist.
You have to be quiet and let me finish, right? I'm gonna explain to you again, right? The reason why we know this to be the case, right, is because what is possibly necessary is necessary. A maximally great being is a being that possesses the utmost.
Do we know that, or is that just how it's defined to be that way?
We know that. That's the laws of logic.
And how do we know that?
Because it's the laws of logic. Like, bro, what? Have you ever heard of modal terms, modal operators, modal logic?
No. Could you please tell me?
Yeah, modal logic has to do with what is impossible, what is possible, and what is possible.
Okay, God is impossible because the God defeating penguin makes it so God can't exist.
Okay, then you have to explain what makes this God defeating penguin necessary. You're not explaining no properties that make it necessary.
I choose to define it to be that way. It is that which makes God not exist. Therefore God can't exist.
You can't choose a contingent being to be necessary. You have to explain to me as to why.
It's not contingent.
Okay, then so why is it necessary?
Because I choose to define it to be that way. It has the properties of a necessary being.
Okay, then so it's just God.
No, it defeats
Okay,
God.
so it's not God. So it does not have the properties of a necessary being.
That's not what a necessary being is. A necessary being is that which is a God-defeating penguin and makes God not exist.
Okay, so you're just throwing different definitions.
Yes, exactly what you do.
So
Yes.
you're throwing false definitions on words.
No, these aren't false
So they're
definitions.
not false definitions.
Do you know what logic is?
Yes, logic is how we
Because
operate.
logic is what determines that the God-defeating penguin has the properties that a necessary being
Okay, then
has.
so give me the logic. You haven't given me anything. You're just making bold claims. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, who's doing that? You, me, or both?
You're literally
And you're not doing that because
no, I'm not, because I gave you logical reasoning as to why God is a maximally great being. You haven't given me any reason as to why this being is
you gave me an argument for it, but that doesn't prove anything other than the argument.
Okay, then so what is proof? Like, bro, I've been asking you questions all day. You're not answering anything.
Isn't proof just information that increases the likelihood or confirms a conjecture?
Well, in a way, yes.
Okay.
But you also have to.
So I proved by deduction that the God-defeating penguin exists, and your God can't
No,
exist.
you're not.
Yes, I did. It has the properties of that which it does, that which it has that which it does, and so therefore, God doesn't exist.
How do you know that it has? How do you know it has such things? That it
It's
does?
called logic, bro. I don't know if you know this or not, but it has the properties of the thing that would make it exist the way I'm choosing to define it to exist as.
Thank you. You just made a bold claim. What properties does it have?
The necessary properties that it must have.
Like what? What is the properties?
It makes God not exist.
Okay, so how is that a necessary property?
Because I choose to define it that way, just like you choose to define maximally great as being what a necessary thing is. I choose to define it that way by complete arbitration, exactly like what you do.